Horizon Chess, and this is the sheer exquisite shenanigans of Red Alert 3 by channel Bricky. I think I watched one of the videos, Command and Conquer? Kane's Wrath. Oh yeah, there you go, it's in the recommendation, the best RTS. From Bricky, and in that he talked about Red Alert 3 and how the certain acting, and they shot real scene with real actors for the, I guess, game and cutscenes, I guess. Very few games I've seen that, things like that has happened. I think the only one I can remember right now is NFS Undercover, kind of that shit. I don't remember other games. I'm pretty sure there have been some shooter games that I've played which has scenes like that, real scene. But yeah, this is apparently something ridiculous, the acting and everything. So it's gonna be fun. Let's watch it. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe. So I know which topic to react to more. I love anything gaming related. I'm a gamer since I was a kid, PC gamer mostly. And I've played quite a few games, especially big AAA games. But yeah, it's always fun to see something that was famous, but I didn't play it. But I can kind of relate to the time period that was from, I guess. So yeah, let's watch it. Okay.
Let you have the satisfaction of catching me. I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
There you go.
Space!
Tim Curry is going to space. In space, there is no capitalism. But particularly, if he's going to the moon, well, what else is not on the moon? Atmosphere. No atmosphere, no protection from the sun. Those rays are going to be blasting him like crazy. Radiation, new levels. And you know what that means? It means he needs our sponsor today, Blender's Eyewear. The sun? Cringe, painful, my eyes squinty, ooh, radiation. Blender's Eyewear, great, excellent, build quality, feel excellent, the look,
Sun is cringe, all right.
Sun diffused. Because Blender's Eyewear is a fantastic and affordable option for you to wear in case the sun ever gets a little uppity. They feel good, I love their colors. These ones are purple because purple is one of my favorite colors. Bricky fact. Magenta is my favorite color, but purple is pretty up there. And right here, smooth. No matter where I'm at, the beach, the mall, outer space, or in my own home right here, these things have got me covered. The Blender's Eyewear feels great. I think they look great, and they come at an affordable cost with a variety of excellent styles, colors, and frames for you specifically. If you want to tell the sun it's cringe, you go to blenderseyewear.com and use code BrickyVIP for 15% off. Check the description now if you want to cop yourself some of their fantastic choices. And let's talk about Tim Curry. Hello everybody, my name is Bricky, currently doxing any and all allied players using cryocopters. So it seems my prior video on Kane's Wrath reached out into the void of YouTube and grabbed all of its players out of their geriatric homes to reminisce on the good times of that fantastic game. I had a whole lot of, I've never seen your content, Bricky, but Kane's Wrath was my shit, and god damn it, I'm glad we have that in common. So I'm nothing if not business oriented, so why not talk about another Command and Conquer?
Kane's Wrath, the Bricky's review obviously touched on a lot of topics. It really felt good game. I never played it obviously, but I could imagine my small self actually enjoying that game and just playing that game for a long time. But yeah, see things like that when I see it, I always have this kind of a regret type of feeling, right? Like goddamn, I would have loved a game like that when I was a kid, but I just didn't know it.
Game, the last decent one, and the last one before EA completely crushed its franchise, Command and Conquer Red Alert 3, that came out very quickly after Kane's Wrath. Red Alert 3, the final Red Alert game of the beloved Red Alert series of Command and Conquer, because there's a couple of variations of it, Generals and Tiberium Wars and Red Alert. And
what? This is when you this is Command and Conquer. I thought this is a separate game, Red Alert 3. I don't know how I didn't see the YouTube's tag as well. Command and Conquer Red Alert 3.
Third game came out in 2009, and it came out right after Kane's Wrath, which I won't lie, gave me a little bit of whiplash. Red Alert 3 might be the polar opposite of the Tiberium Wars games. While Tiberium Wars focused a bit more on macro, this game focused a lot more on micro. In Tiberium Wars, while it was still a little cheesy, it took its topic somewhat seriously. In Red Alert 3, it is all farce. It is all memes. While the characters and units sounded somewhat grounded in Tiberium Wars, in Red Alert, it's
kill them like watermelon.
It is a total...
I mean, it might make sense if they're going to release it in what, 5-6 months, right? That's how the gap is. So they have to have opposite type of game, right? They're not going to release the same type of game in same area of game because people are still playing the one that you just launched a few months ago.
Fucking parody. However, that doesn't make it bad. It makes it specific. It dedicates itself to a particular audience. Those who prefer the micro gameplay, those who prefer the art style and the voice acting and the cheese. Red Alert 3 is a game that I don't believe many people consider to be nearly as good as 1 and 2, because while I did not play Red Alert 1 and 2, I do hear a lot of, it's not quite the same. But it is still a classic source of fun over balance. Fun over overall, well, function and health. And that's not always a bad thing. You can't point at Modern Warfare 2, one of the most popular games ever, my childhood, and tell me, yeah, Bricky, that game was balanced. One of the best FPS games ever made, Titanfall 2, is an unbalanced mess. At least when you get really good at it, but it is still goddamn fun. And Red Alert 3? It's some goddamn fun. It might actually be having too much fun. We'll talk about that in the campaign.
Nixon was framed and Kennedy was a commie?
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Disclaimer. Deals with Soviets, very evil, crazy Russians, Imperial Japan, all this kind of stuff. Russia, modern time, things going on right now in the world. It's not something I'm going to bring up. It's not something that actually matters in the context of this review. And this discussion of the game will be as if it's not happening. But I wanted to say it because we're all adults here, and I wanted to at least make it clear that, you know, elephant in the room. Okay, anyway.
Is it
so? The Russians invent time travel.
Any American type of thing that sees, you know, Soviet Union as something evil, is that really elephant in the room? Red Menace, that was the most famous thing there, right? Around that time. Everybody knows this. It's not much of elephant.
Soviet Union is on the brink of collapse, and Tim Curry, and they decided to use their time machine to travel back to Brussels sprouts in 1927 and assassinate Albert Einstein. This changes the course of history.
Why?
Nuclear warfare was never invented, and then Tim Curry becomes the new prime minister or supreme prime minister or whatever of the Soviet Union, and the Russians are about to control the entire Western world. They are on the brink of victory instead of collapse thanks to their assassination of Albert Einstein. However, with no Albert Einstein means no nukes. And, well, no nukes means a certain other nation didn't have any setbacks. So a combination...
All right. First of all, you do realize without Albert Einstein, many things would be different. What do you mean by advanced technology? All the advanced technology we have now, especially the chipset industry and everything small size, would not exist. All this exists because of quantum world. That discovery made by, you know, Einstein. Einstein figured that shit out. So nukes are not the only thing that goes away, right? Many things goes away. Our technology would look grossly different, right? So there's that. And about the nukes, see, figuring out atom is one of the fundamentals of anything, basically. So even if Einstein wouldn't have figured it out, eventually someone would, right? Someone would come along, research something here and there, and eventually will figure out power of atom. It's not something like if Einstein can do it, nobody can. It's not something like that. Red Alert 3, fuck it, let's kill Einstein. Like, what the hell? Einstein's like, what? I'm just just writing some theories here and there. Why would you come after me?
Of technologically advanced, feudal, and imperial Japan, known as the Empire of the Rising Sun, is now a massive force. They are technologically superior, have crazy new stuff coming around, and they believe that world domination is their divine destiny. And they have begun a three-way world war between the Soviets, the Allies, and the Empire of the Rising Sun. The plot is just straight up Shenanigans. The entire thing is a vehicle for some of the dumbest dialogue ever written and some of the most school level play acting you can get. It is riding that thin line of hilarious and cringy and constantly
much money they
falls
spend on
both
actors, man?
sides all the time. They decided to populate the entire main cast with either A-list celebrities or supermodels. All the in-game commandos are straight up supermodels in this game. They are the stereotype.
That was her, right? Mixed martial artist, but now is an actress, I guess. She was on Mandalorian. And who's the supermodel? I knew that. I remember that face from somewhere.
Of each one. The Allies have a double pistol wielding blonde bombshell. The Soviets have the strong, tough sniper Dragunov Natasha commando. And the Japanese have a schoolgirl outfit, pigtails, angry, angsty young girl with psychic powers. And the cast, holy fuck.
Wait a minute, what?
And the
Why does he look like Ric Flair? Look at that face.
Japanese have a schoolgirl outfit, pigtails, angry, angsty young girl with psychic powers. And the cast, holy fuck, the cast. You've got Tim Curry doing this Russian accent thing. You've got J.K. Simmons as the president of the United States. Jonathan Pryce is a field marshal. George Takei is the fucking emperor. Ric Flair is the goddamn commander. And David Hasselhoff is the vice president. And the shit they...
Okay, so why is Ric Flair in Japan? Why he has anything to do with the Japan? I'm pretty sure he's in Japan because that photo was Japanese.
We have altered the space-time continuum. Oh.
And now that we have a common enemy,
Bullpucky.
I wasn't flirting, sir. I was just, making conversation.
Our enemy was thrusting deeply into the
Who is she,
motherland
man?
and the nether regions.
Los Angeles is the hub of the Allied propaganda machine.
Based.
Freedom, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, apple pie. Did I say freedom? Well, it's worth saying again.
I will root out the enemy within.
You are made of stupid.
The sheer volume of A-list actors in this thing, in like the complete farce that it is. You can tell none of them are taking it seriously. Tim Curry is consistently laughing at his voice lines. And those are the takes they kept. It's surreal. Like, J.K. Simmons is actually a Japanese robot spy that they infiltrated to become the president. And then George Takei just like rips out some wires and J.K. Simmons has a fucking meltdown. The ending of the Allied campaign has one of the briefing ladies, I forget her name, I think it's Jenna Atkinson, whoever, and the supermodel commando both dressed up to take you out on a hot date tonight. That's the ending of the Allied campaign. Japanese campaign, same thing, but on a beach. And you know what's the best part about this? It translates over to gameplay.
How?
It's just as silly with its
If you win, you can have these two hot ladies. Really? Nah, just cuts in.
style and its units. So a bit ago, there was a Mario game. I forget which one, right? And Mario had a sombrero. And then a whole bunch of pasty ass fucking college students that looked like me made a whole bunch of journal articles about why it's super fucking racist, because they had nothing better to do with their time. And then right after that, all of the fans from like Mexico and stuff of Mario were like, yo, that's fucking dope. That's the guy's sombrero. And it made them all look like total clowns. I feel like this game is that same test, just edgier. All those,
perfectly polished college student from some, I don't know, New York or some shit, where they're living lavish life. They're like, oh, look at that. All the Spanish-speaking countries would be offended. While people in Mexico and everywhere are like, we have bigger problems than Mario with a sombrero. If anything, this puts a smile on my face. It's something funny. So every time you see like all these people are getting outraged, the actual people who it might be affecting is not affecting anything.
factions are insane stereotypes. Everything. The Allies, the Russians, and the Japanese. They are all incredibly stereotypical. Sometimes in a good way,
But he was painting
sometimes in certainly an offensive way, but in a funny way. Red Alert 3 likes its stereotypes. It likes them a lot, and it uses them everywhere. Like, I asked some Russian friends of mine about like what they thought about Red Alert 3 when it came out, that super evil Russian stereotype, and apparently it was generally well received. They call it Klukva. Klekva? I'm pronouncing this very poorly, but just that super over-the-top evil Russian stereotype. And apparently it's kind of funny because Red Alert is absolutely that. The Soviets, which are my personal favorite of the three factions,
Look, man, during the Cold War time, obviously Red Menace, this and that, it was, you know, anything Soviet Union was extremely evil. That was the mentality in the West. Everybody knows that. Million movies have been made about that, right? And this is not going to be much offensive. People already know this, right? So if anything, it's going to be too over the top and people will just find it funny.
Have war bears. They have conscripts with AKs and Molotovs. They have Gulag flak troopers. They have the hammer tank and the sickle walker. Their engineer is just, yeah.
I think that was my good lung.
The submarine sounds like it's gonna sink at basically any moment.
What's that dripping sound? Are the scanners working?
And oh, we can't forget about the Kirov airship.
Drop another load. Oh yeah. Ah, that's nice.
The volume of like
people are not gonna use balloons.
Come
on,
funny,
man.
But their patriotism is actually kind of cool. The sheer patriotism in some of their units is really fun to listen to, particularly the Soviet dreadnought, who just has some of the best voice lines.
Can you feel the Soviet might? Enemies of the Union shall burn.
And then you got the Apocalypse tank, who is the whole thing.
The apocalypse has begun. We will bury them.
Moving over, though, the Empire of the Rising Sun is a combination of feudal Japan, Imperial Japan, and anime stereotypes. You've got units that go the anti-infantry route, where you have jets that kind of skim around, but then can turn into jets and fly around, or bipedal helicopters that fire missiles, enormous Oni mechs.
Is that Dragon Ball Z type of shit? Somebody just screams and some lightning comes out of them or something.
And also tsunami tanks that literally scream the word cavalry. You've got like Naginata cruisers and Shogun battleships. The average Imperial warrior has a gun, but also a laser katana that he can charge you with. And for the anime part, you know, besides the Oni mechs and mecha, you also have like rocket angels and the commando. Also, you have the
oh god, even Japanese, man, we are advanced now. We don't need katanas. Why are you doing this to us? Even the Star Wars thing, right? Lightsaber. I mean, there are lots of people, lots of scientists. I don't exactly remember who it was, but I've seen lots of videos where people talk about like lightsabers are stupid because if you can shoot it from the distance, why would you have a lightsaber? Again, they're going to be all the Zen and crap. If you have a lightsaber, you can deflect any, you know, any ammo fire that comes towards you or whatever. You're just going to be that. But still, it's just like you don't need a melee weapon when you are advanced and you have some weaponry. So in this one, lightning, you know, katana just to melee, like, why? Just shoot from the distance.
The engineer, which, I mean, look at that walk cycle. Look at that run cycle. I actually like their style quite a lot. High-tech Japanese is a pretty common thing to do because it's such a high-tech country. But also at the same time, I like the combination of throwing it with Imperial Japan and having that Imperial Japanese nature to them. The zealotism they have in their divine right for world domination is very cool, but they also have this sort of professionalism. Certain units, particularly the Shogun battleship and the Wave Force are...
So if Albert Einstein was killed, how is all this weaponry working? How is laser working? How is everything working? Did they really think it through, any of this? Oh, we don't have nuke, but what about every fucking thing else?
Artillery, one of my favorites, have this just very like calm, strong demeanor about them.
The day of the Shogun has arrived. They will soon bow to our flag.
We will take them by force. The Shogunate will be pleased.
And then you contrast that with things like the Mecha Tengu and the Commando and Rocket Angels, and it becomes really fun. It's a nice hybrid. Fuck, man. The Commando's special ability literally creates the Imperial flag. Like, what else could you ask for? As far as the allies go, they themselves look a bit more generic. However, they are basically every single Western stereotype, and not just America, but also like British area combined. The sheer volume of nationalities is actually what's pretty cool about it. You've got your pretty standard like white peacekeeper cop kind of guy with the peacekeeper, the riot shield, and the shotgun. Your javelin troopers are all basically football players, literally saying lines like football players.
Sack them, blitz them. Here comes the Hail Mary.
The engineer is a complete fucking dweeb.
here.
See the problem with that, this is what Hollywood has done, right? What is the famous thing, American football is really famous. So Hollywood kind of mimics that in, talking everything. And because Hollywood is so famous, people actually watch that and start to mimic that. So that kind of makes the, give them the validation, right? See, we predicted that. No, you didn't predict that shit. People are acting like that because you made the movie and because you made this into a thing. that I don't know what that phenomenon is called, but lots of, you see a news clip here and there where lots of soldiers act like that, like basically like football player or whatever. It's because Hollywood made it famous like that, and the Hollywood used that as a validation. Say that we were right. No, you were not.
Pie.
His jet ski, as well as the funniest thing ever. They've got a James Bond style spy that can bribe people to turn traitor. Guardian tanks and multi-gunners are by far the most evil of them all. Like British.
Hey mate, someone's a little cheesed off. Eat a tick.
Mirage tanks are incredibly French.
C'était fatal.
Hydrofoils are Jamaican.
Take their guns away. Scramble them eggs.
The big satellite laser truck is just a call center lady.
Anything else I can do for you? One moment, sir.
Sentry bombers have that deep.
You know what? I don't exactly remember the detail about the Australian, what is their ancestor history, but something about being a prisoners, right? British prisoners were sent to this island, which is now called Australia. That's where the ancestors from. So they were kind of screwed in their way as well. But isn't that fucked up? Just because you were British once, people can basically make fun of you. And yeah, I guess it's accepted. Oh, they're Aussies. Like, what the fuck?
Southern accent. No more belly aching from them. And aircraft carriers are there to blow your ears out.
Aircraft carrier leaving port. Tall and proud.
In fact, there's actually a comment on my Kane's Wrath video that I think describes this a lot better than I can. I can't stress enough how important voice acting is in an RTS. You're going to be hearing the same voice clips hundreds of thousands of times, and the best ones are iconic and never leave your head. It's a great way to put it. When you're building stuff and clicking things and...
Okay, I understand that in a way that... I remember playing Assassin's Creed Origins, and what annoyed me about that is that every line that any civilian says is like just 2 or 3 lines that they record in Egyptian language, and every fucking one repeats the same thing. And at the start you're like, okay, that's a generic NPC line, fine. But the game is so big, after a certain point you're like, what the fuck, shut the fuck up, this just ruins the game. It just becomes annoying. Now, if they had added some iconic lines here and there, or probably was a bit clever about it, I don't want them to have a complex NPC dialogues, but just something iconic, something that just makes somewhat sense. It would have been fine. So you think that in an RTS game where it's just fight, story and dialogues barely should matter. But if something is iconic, it will stay with you. It becomes a part of the character, like a destroyer or something, have a certain type of dialogue. You look forward to using that destroyer just to hear that dialogue.
Ordering people around, you're going to be hearing those voice lines again and again and again and again and again, and they need to be good or else they're going to be so tiring. Keeping those sound effects up, keeping that voice acting solid is paramount, and it's something that, despite the silliness, they do incredibly well in this game. This actually might be the reason why I enjoy Red Alert 3 so much, despite it being entirely inferior to Kane's Wrath. See, Red Alert's gameplay is actually the part I have the biggest problem with. There's a lot of things they did to the game that I either don't like on a personal level or simply feel like it's just not well balanced. For example, like harvesting your resources is massively cut down compared to Command & Conquer Kane's Wrath, where you have multiple refineries and multiple harvesters. You literally just place a refinery there and then just go back and forth, which makes it really, really easy, but also more punishing. If you get rushed in Kane's Wrath, you have your base defenses, you have all your things you can make, and you can try to defend your harvesters. And they might kill 1 or 2 harvesters, but it doesn't kill your economy. In Red Alert, that's like your only harvester per field, and you only start with 2 right next to you. So a common strat, the Vindicator bombers on the allies, fucking pricks, will just go over there and kill them. And now you're not getting any money until you build a new one. And I don't know how much you've been spending. That could really be a detriment. You've only got 2 harvesters. What if they kill both? How much should you have to sell in order to get more? Like, there's no skill in actually harvesting, and there's very little skill needed to get rid of the harvesters. Soviet terror drones are a nightmare when it comes to that crap. Also, the game forgoes any and all upgrades. There are no upgrades to buy, no rail guns or blue purifying flame, nothing like that. And all of your special like side abilities come from a tech tree that you need to pick around on the bottom left corner of the screen. And some of those are just flat out better than others. So some of those tech tree ability things are kind of cool. You got like the chrono ship from the Allies, or the toxic bomb from the Soviets, or the actual zero plane kamikaze for the Imperial Japan. But you know, they're interesting, but they're not quite the same, and they don't offer as much utility and interest.
Yeah, I think they went through not your average RTS game, but they went through like your average game, replacing upgrades with some skills here and there. Like, it will keep it interesting, but I think the focus of this game was mostly parody, so the even gameplay suffers for it depending on who you ask. But it won't be your other Kane's Wrath type of game. I don't think this game is aimed at that people, or it's aimed at the people who want more of the same thing, Command and Conquer, but in a different light, because it released in very small window, just a few months after. That's nothing
as they do in Kane's Wrath. But the game also has become more micro heavy. Every single unit they decide to give a special ability, and some of these abilities range from we had to pick something to absolutely ridiculous. Like harvesters, for example. The Allies one allows them to go ahead and move their base. It's an outpost ability, whereas the Soviet one gives it a big shell to make it tankier, and the Empire one that turns around, stops harvesting, has a little gun on the top. The Imperial warriors put their guns away and charge it with their laser katana. The conscripts take their AKs down and throw Molotovs. Hydrofoils swap from their anti-air gun to a gun that stops the enemy units from firing at all, like a jammer, which is really aggravating. The Apocalypse tank grabs someone, pulls them in, and shreds them down. Everything has an ability. The thing is that makes it a hell of a lot more micro heavy, which I'm less of a fan of. I do feel like in Red Alert, once your opponent gets rid of your major fighting force, you're kind of done. There's a lot of comebacks in Kane's Wrath, and I think it has to do with the speed of the game and the map size. Red Alert maps feel really small, but things are still decently quick. In Kane's Wrath, the maps are way bigger, and things aren't decently quick, so there's still lots of time to recover. I have many a times just been rushed by twin blades, and that was my death. That was it. It was over. I have been rushed by dolphins that can't allow me to go anywhere in the sea. The Japanese mecha-tangus just destroy everything I know and love. The
Scalar is organizing this.
ridiculous.
On the Allies. There are many times where I feel like my games are ending incredibly quick. Terror drone spam from the Soviets. The games just don't feel like they can turn around as quickly.
Okay, how many haters were there, right? I can just imagine pro Command and Conquer people just seeing all these shortcomings, especially the speed of it, like how fast game can frustrate you. How many people hated, like, why would you make this? Why didn't you make something similar to Kane's Wrath or something like that? Because
so
this can get frustrating
you've got
fast.
A streamlined system where there are no upgrades, your powers are all in a tier system, and everything is more micro heavy instead of macro. That could be how Red Alert's always been, and if that's the case, then I mean, totally fine, but that's not for me. I like Kane's Wrath a lot for all the opposite reasons of what I just said. Red Alert for me is completely held up by its great voice acting and also very good visuals. Look at the water effects in this game. It came out in 2009. The lighting effects, especially the amount of color, is something it does really well. And also, oh my god, the soundtrack. I didn't even mention the soundtrack. Get the montage.
Okay. Mars then. Heavy metal. Epic orchestra, right? Dropping all this shit. What is this, Doom?
I remember asking my chat which faction is the strongest in Red Alert comparatively to everything else, and they all unanimously said the Allies. And it kind of made me confused for a while why the Allies. I know Peacekeepers are strong, I know that the Vindicator spam is pretty good, but like why specifically the Allies, and they all said cryocopters. And I watched some pro games, and yeah, cryocopters are dumb. They run up to something, freeze it, and then said thing can basically be one-shot by anything in the game, no matter what, and it can't fight back. Does not matter the size. It also has a shrink ray, which makes said thing incredibly tiny, do almost no damage, and be like triple as weak. It is infuriating what I have watched with allied cryocopters. The allies look so overpowered. Their aircraft carriers are also insane. Assault destroyers, when used properly, can be kind of nuts. Oh, just peacekeeper spam, weirdly enough, seems really good. Their Apollo fighters, just fuck. And it's not to say that everything else doesn't have some good stuff.
I mean, they can't make the Soviet side stronger, can they? They're not gonna make Japanese stronger. This is, of course, allies are going to be the overpowered one. They will have to make sure of that, right? I mean, they are the ones making the game. Imagine if this somehow turned out the Japanese one was stronger. Like, yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Mecha Tengus are pretty good. Those actually Wave Force artillery can be pretty nuts too. And the Empire has the best naval combat by far. Soviets terror drones are really scary. Twin Blades are good. Kirovs are still good. But even so, like the Allies, they seem a bit overtuned. And there could be mods and stuff to make this a little bit better. I haven't actually seen any personally, but I don't know if I would be able to, because you can't really play multiplayer in this game. Yeah, it's like broken or down or something. You need to download mods or something to even play multiplayer, because EA, what's that? We put out a product and it's not working. Well, bye. It's too bad too, because I know there's a lot of people who don't like this game. They're just not a fan of this Red Alert, but
I think lack of support should be penalized, because fuck this, man. This is happening a lot, especially with EA, right? A game is bad, we're just gonna walk away and try better next time. Not patch your shit, man. I hated that. Right? What was the game? I forgot the name of the game. I think BioWare made it after Andromeda. That game had promised, had some mechanics of the Andromeda, but it was shitty and people just stopped giving a shit after that. Like, no, right? That happens a lot, even in Netflix, right? When you see a TV show, you binge watch it and you realize that they just stop, production of that, stop giving money to it. So that's the last season. It ends in a fucking cliffhanger. I binge watched the show Marco Polo. I'm not saying it was really that, but it was fun watching that Mongol Empire Marco Polo shit. It was fun. After second season ended, and it was a big ass cliffhanger, as a cliffhanger can be, and there you go. There's not going to be another Marco Polo because they lost $200 million on that. What was that? So don't end in a cliffhanger, right? If you're unsure if you're going to be renewed or not, don't end in a cliffhanger. That's just shitty.
But I do enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. It's good for a couple of rounds of enjoying myself and being kind of silly and different and interesting. It's nowhere near as good as Kane's Wrath to me, but I also don't like some of the changes it made. So, it could be a personal preference. Overall, though, despite everything there, it does still feel like that era before the loot boxes, before the just make
It's like, to me, this is the difference between, do you like Red Dead Redemption 2 or do you like Borderlands 2, right? I mean, you like both of them. Can't really compare. One is a good narrative-driven, fun game. Other one is just fun game. And I'm saying Borderlands 2 because 3 sucks. I don't care who says what. I played the Borderlands 1 first. It was fun. But then I played Borderlands 2 with all its DLC, and 1 felt depressing. Then I played 3 and it felt really underwhelming. I don't care how many guns there or how many more guns. 2 had a soul. Everything, even the DLCs. Even the, that pirate thing that people hated, the DLC. I loved it because of their lighthouse map. And its music. Borderlands 2 was perfection. 3 kind of sucked because of it. Because if you compare it with 2, it kind of sucked. As a standalone game, it's fine, but with 2, it's just... So it's basically like that. This Red Alert 3 is more like Borderlands, not taking anything seriously. Not at that level, but still. Compared to the, Kane's Wrath and things like that.
Our money back era, where despite it being EA and despite all their dumbassery, it is a game that was made with care. It's dumb, it's cheesy, it's stupid, but it's meant to be, and it's fun for that. It is fun over balance to a T. And honestly, I'm really sad it's the last real Command and Conquer game. It is the one that put it in, well, it's not the one that put it in its grave, but it is the one right before it went to a grave. It was its final hurrah, and it's not the best, but it's better than what they've been making. So, yeah. Red Alert 3. Tim Curry looking at ass. Vine boom sound effect.
Bird up.
Thank you all for
What? That Bricky didn't add that effect? That's part of the game, the dang sound?
faking. So, yeah. Red Alert 3. Tim Curry looking at ass. Vine boom sound effect.
This is in the game?
Thank you all for watching this video. It was a pleasure having you all here. If you want to check out some merch, I have some new ones. I have a new...
Oh god, see this... Okay, what the fuck? Yeah, this thing is one of the best thing ever just because of the acting, how many people are there, Ric Flair and all that, because fuck it, why not? Imagine them getting the call. You want to act for a game? Is it a Grand Theft Auto? No, it's an RTS game. You play it from the top view, it's not a 3D game. Yeah, are our roles going to be important? Not really, it's just a comic relief shit. You have to do some ridiculous acting, which, yeah, it's going to be, knowing how your acting career is going to be, it's not going to be that difficult. Man, I love how they just, brought every, I've recognized lots of faces there from different TV shows here and there. Even one actor was from Marco Polo, like I said, Netflix. Right, people, that was the sheer exquisite shenanigans of Red Alert 3 by channel Bricky. If you like my next, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.